Hey everyone, it's Triple Mango Thread or Ashley, and today we're talking about the stack. So let's jump right into it. Every spell and activated ability or even a triggered ability is going to affect the stack. The stack is a different zone that exists within the game, and a short and simple answer is, every time you cast something, activate an ability, or trigger an ability, each player has an opportunity to respond. I want to clarify, you can only respond with instant cards, or if you have a card that lets you cast spells as though they had flash on your battlefield at the time of the stack happening, so let's continue. For example, when we cast Llanowar Elves, it goes to the stack. The spell has not resolved yet, and it hasn't even entered the battlefield. It's in the air, as I like to describe it, and before it can enter the battlefield, each player gets the chance to say something about us casting it. So we are player 1, and we cast Llanowar Elves. Whenever we pass priority, it then goes to player 2. Player 2 casts Counterspell, targeting Llanowar Elves. In this example, our creature was cast, but it did not enter the battlefield because it was countered. A more complicated example would be we cast Llanowar Elves, player 2 casts Counterspell. But remember, anytime a player casts a spell or activates an ability, another round is made. And this means each player gets to respond again. So player 3 responds with Negate, targeting Counterspell. And since another round is made with this, player 4 casts Dissolve, targeting Negate. So we have 4 spells on the stack. Now how does this all resolve? First one in, last one out. Let's start with the top of the stack. Dissolve will counter Negate. So let's take those 2 cards out of the stack. With 2 cards left, there's a Counterspell and a Llanowar Elves. Sadly, our Llanowar Elves does get countered. Now, I want to say one more example to clarify some things. Player 1 casts Llanowar Elves, and then priority moves to player 2. They decide to do nothing. Priority moves to player 3. They also decide to do nothing. Then priority moves to player 4, and they decide to cast Dissolve on our Llanowar Elves. Before their Dissolve resolves, we have a chance to respond. So player 1 casts Arcane Denial, targeting Dissolve, and let's say player 2 and 3 and 4 do nothing. Arcane Denial resolves, and player 1's Arcane Denial is on top, so it counters Dissolve, and since Dissolve no longer targets our Llanowar Elves, our creature will enter the battlefield. Next, let's talk about abilities. It's kind of the same thing as responding with our spells. If player 1 casts a Wrath of God, priority passes to player 2. They do nothing. Priority passes to player 3. Now they actually want to get some value from their Ashnod's Altar, so they decide to sacrifice their creatures in response to us casting Wrath of God. When player 3 tells us what they're going to do, player 4, 1, and 2 get a chance to respond still. And let's just say they do nothing for the example. So from the top, player 3 sacrifices 2 creatures to Ashnod's Altar, getting 4 colorless mana. Then Wrath of God would resolve, and all creatures would be destroyed and not regenerate. There are a few things that do not start the stack, such as playing a land, activating a mana ability, or paying a cost. An activated ability that includes the cost of tapping a permanent can be activated and tapped immediately, and an opponent would not be able to respond with an instant that destroys the permanent first. So after all of that information, if it's still a little too much right now, don't worry. Just remember, every time a player casts a spell or activates an ability, each player gets the chance to respond to it. I hope this helped clear up any basic knowledge of the stack. Thank you to the patrons who help support this channel, and you can also become a patron to help support this show, and you receive rewards when you do so. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.